You're watching Channel 11, WPXI TV, Pittsburgh. The station with more news, more often.
A local community tonight is hit by a second suspicious fire in less than a week. Details coming up.
Now, from the news operation voted best in the state by the Associated Press, this is Channel 11 News Night Beat.
And fire investigators are in Esplen in the city of Pittsburgh tonight looking for clues after a fire. It comes just 5 days after another suspicious fire just a few blocks away. Good evening, I'm David Johnson.
And I'm Peggy Finnegan, topping the night beat tonight. That blaze started around 7 along West Carson Street. Arson investigators are now combing through what's left of the building in an effort to pinpoint the cause. It's being labeled suspicious since it was a vacant house. Just last Wednesday, another vacant building just 2 blocks away was torched. Arson was blamed in that fire, but so far, police have no firm leads in either case. And lots of other fires tonight. Fire investigators say a gas leak appears to be the cause of fire that heavily damaged a pizza shop along East Carson Street on the south side. Crews were called after reports of an explosion at the scene. Investigators removed a gas meter from the building after several firefighters said they smelled gas.
And yet another fire tonight. This one leaves a mother and her 2 small children in the hospital. It happened in Stowe Township, and as Margaret Shortridge tells us now, it was firefighters who found the 3 unconscious in the upstairs bathroom.
Firefighters do not know why Michelle Love and her 2 small boys were upstairs in the bathroom of their Ohio View Acres home.
As it appears right now, the mother may have been getting the kids ready to take a bath, but we're not, until we talk to the mother, we don't know that for sure.
The 3 were discovered in the bathroom unconscious. Allegheny County Fire Marshal Tom Hitchings says they were overcome by toxic fumes created by the fire downstairs.
We had foam rubber and overstuffed furniture. We had plastic toys and other plastic materials that became involved in the fire, which does emit highly toxic vapors and smoke.
3 firefighters were hurt as they made their way through the smoke and the fumes and then upstairs to rescue the mother and her young children. But the firefighters here on the scene tell me that's part of their job, and they're just glad they could get to Mrs. Love and her boys. Fire investigators believe they know where this fire started, between the entertainment center and an overstuffed chair. The question now is just what sparked it. In Stowe Township, Margaret Shortridge, Channel 11 News.
And Michelle Love is listed critical at Mercy Hospital's burn unit right now. Her 2 sons were taken to Children's Hospital in Oakland, where they too are listed in critical condition. Stowe Township officials tell us one of the firefighters is now in critical condition, another in fair. Just how the 3rd injured firefighter is doing has not been released.
An unfortunate string of accidents leaves a Butler County family homeless. It all started early this morning when police say a man filling a kerosene heater in the living room dropped a cigarette that touched off a blaze which heavily damaged the home. The man got out safely. His wife wasn't home at the time. And a family of 3 manages to escape flames as they tear through their home in St. Clair Township, Westmoreland County. Investigators say the early morning fire started near the home's wood-burning stove.
And some tense moments in Beaver County's Harmony Township tonight. The Allegheny County Bomb Squad is called to this home on Virginia Avenue after Beaver County Sheriff's deputies find what they thought was a bomb. The deputies reportedly went to the house to confiscate weapons and ammo. The neighbors were evacuated as a precaution, but it turns out that device was only a fake. Now, earlier in the day, the County Bomb Squad is called out to defuse a potentially dangerous situation at the University of Pittsburgh. About 100 students had to be evacuated from Clapp Hall after a container of nitroglycerin was found in a lab. Now, the chemical, which can be explosive, was carried away in the bomb disposal unit safely.
A disturbing crime to tell you about tonight as a woman is murdered, a man blinded in a shooting touched off by a traffic dispute. What makes it so disturbing is that the suspects, who police describe as having no remorse at all, laughed all the way to jail.
What's up, yo? What's up, homies?
Police described 21-year-old Ian Robinson and 19-year-old Harold Cabbage Stalk's attitudes as, at best, cavalier. Police say the pair treated Sunday's deadly shooting in downtown Pittsburgh like they had run over a cat and not like they had just killed a human being and maimed another. It started on the Parkway East when the 2 argued with occupants of another car. It ended in a hail of bullets downtown at the corner of Forbes and Cherry Way. A 25-year-old passenger in the car, Tony Lynn Brackenridge, died in the shooting. The driver, 21-year-old Keith Parker, was shot in the head and blinded.
Well, of course, Peggy, such a loss is tough to take, but police tell us the victims' families were there when the two suspects were brought in, laughing and carrying on, as you saw. And despite their bereavement, the family spoke about their loss in exclusive interviews with our Lauren Mann.
Elizabeth Pollard spoke with me as she and her family made their daughter's funeral arrangements. 25-year-old Tony Lynn Brackenridge died at the scene in a shooting that police say climaxed an argument between two motorists over who had the right-of-way. Mrs. Pollard called it a senseless killing.
I'm angry, upset. It was just a senseless killing. And why should they be on the streets? They should have been caught a long time ago. Still out there on the street killing innocent people.
I think it's just unforgivable. Why should people be allowed to kill other people for no reason?
Tony Lynn, the mother of 3 young children, was a passenger in a car driven by 25-year-old Kevin Parker, who was wounded in the shooting. He's in critical condition at Mercy Hospital. His parents hope he'll see his toddler children again. Kevin's left eye was blown away and his right eye severely damaged. Now that suspects are charged, his mother wants justice.
I just hope justice will be done, whether it be done by the legal system or by God. I just hope justice will be done.
I think we need to find a way to take the handguns out of their hands. That would be a big step.
Tony Lynn Brackenridge will be buried Wednesday following a final service here. While both families share an awful tragedy, they've expressed appreciation that suspects in this case are in custody. Lauren Mann, Channel 11 News, Uniontown.
And both families tell us they're still in shock over the incident, of course. They have spoken with each other to express their sorrow as they all struggle to put their lives back together.
A convicted murderer could become a free man thanks to delays in Allegheny County Common Pleas Court. Anthony Heiser is serving a life sentence for the murder of an antique store owner. In 1980, Heiser requested a hearing so he could withdraw his guilty plea. Now, 12 years later, no hearing has still been scheduled. A warning for Allegheny County lawyers: better be on time for court hearings. Recently, 2 attorneys who were late for court were handcuffed before being led into Judge Jeffrey Manning's courtroom. The judge says it's true he did want to see the lawyers, but he claims he never ordered the handcuffs, and he promises it won't happen again. A Westmoreland County judge gives a suspect a break which proves deadly. James Yeckel is now facing criminal homicide charges after allegedly beating 34-year-old Michael Lembach to death in August. This while on a 1-day furlough. Judge Gary Caruso freed Yeckel to address his personal affairs before serving time for probation violations. Yeckel went to his girlfriend's house where he found Lembach and allegedly beat him to death. Caruso says he didn't think Yeckel was a risk.
Updating you now on one of 3 convicted killers who escaped from a West Virginia prison last winter. David Williams is now back in court, and seen here, Williams was sentenced for an armed robbery he committed while on the loose. He pleaded guilty to holding 2 people hostage in New Martinsville and also to stealing their car. Williams is already serving life in prison. Today, a judge added 40 years to that term. Meantime, a Moundsville inmate is found stabbed to death. Authorities say 46-year-old prisoner was found stabbed in his cell late last night. Officials say the victim was stabbed 15 times in the neck and chest with a homemade knife. The accused killer is 36-year-old Russell Lassiter, and both men were serving time for murder.
A gambling raid and sexual assault case making headlines in the Channel 11 Newspaper Exchange tonight. The first story comes to us from the Washington Observer Reporter. State police seize $7,500 and gambling paraphernalia in 2 Mon Valley raids. 15 arrests are expected to follow. And the Tribune Review reports a Fayette County couple must stand trial in the alleged sexual assault of a Connellsville woman. The victim claims she was assaulted in a laundromat. 41-year-old Carl Jones and his 33-year-old wife Jacqueline are charged in the case. And you can read more on these stories in tomorrow's Observer Reporter and Tribune Review. Well, you may want to check your holiday lists twice.
It's all because of a new list of this year's 10 most dangerous toys. Up next on the Night Beat tonight, we'll tell you which toys one man says are naughty and not nice.
And a wild stunt as a motorcycle daredevil jumps over the Great Wall. How it turned out coming up.
Channel 11 News Might Be continues live from Television Hill with David Johnson and Peggy Finnegan, John Fedko with sports, and Dennis Bowman with Carnegie Science Center weather. You're watching the station voted best in the state by the Associated Press. Channel 11 News Might Beat.
The grandparents have to stand up for the children that cannot speak for themselves.
Ensuring your grandchildren have a safe place to live. Is it a crime? We'll tell you why these grandparents were arrested today when the Night Beat continues.
This time of year, most parents start making those holiday lists, but a new report out today may have many parents checking theirs twice for safety. Product liability lawyer Edward Swartz has been putting out his list of the 10 most dangerous toys for almost 20 years. His biggest concerns are sharp edges and parts that can choke small children. Here's this year's list. The Super Soaker 100 by Laramie, Creative Blocks, and the Puffalump Snuggle Light. They're both by Fisher-Price. Also Moon Shoes, marketed by the Nickelodeon TV network. The Terminator 2 Power Arm by Kenner, along with the Captain Hook Tri-Hook from Mattel, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer doll made by Applause Incorporated, and the Surfboard Riding Troll from Russ Berry & Company. Add the Smart Kids I Can Drive car by DreamWorks and the Busy Boy tool chest from Ohio Art. They round out the list of this year's most dangerous toys.
In other news, 8 grandparents are arrested after a sit-in today at the WTI incinerator in East Liverpool, Ohio. And police say the group, wearing signs with their grandchildren's names, handcuffed themselves together in front of that site. Last week, a federal judge cleared the way for the startup of the incinerator, which many feel will help the area's economy. Ralph Bosco, who lives near that site, disagrees with them.
You keep listening to what this thing is supposed to do economic-wise and so forth, but all you got to do is look around the country where these are, and they're nothing but a disastrous to the economy of each and every place these are built.
All 8 protesters arrested had to post $2,000 bail each.
2 Detroit police officers could face life in prison for beating a motorist to death. Officer Larry Nevers and Walter Budson will go to trial November 25th. Both face second-degree murder charges in the beating death of motorist Malice Green. That was on November 5th. Charges are also being filed against 2 other police officers present during the beating. 3 other officers at the scene are not being charged with any crime. Grass and flowers will replace the apartment building where one of this century's most infamous murderers lived. The building where Jeffrey Dahmer tortured and killed many of his victims is being demolished. A group called Campus Circle Project bought the building and is tearing it down in respect for the victims' families.
Well, a day of fun takes a foul turn after accidents at 2 Australian carnivals, and that's where we begin tonight's look at the world in a minute. 6 children are hurt in Melbourne when winds pick up an inflatable castle, slamming it down on a bumper car ride. And in Sydney, a ride collapses, crushing a young woman's legs. British police defuse an IRA bomb outside of one of London's tallest office buildings. A suicide bomber on a motorcycle kills Sri Lanka's top naval admiral and 3 others. A grenade blast in a crowded Jerusalem market kills 1 Palestinian, wounds 8 other shoppers. After 3 weeks at sea in a broken-down boat, 140 Chinese boat people come ashore in Japan. A group of U.S. senators in Vietnam is given access to new files and artifacts they say may help resolve dozens of MIA cases. Russia launches a rocket toward America. Instead of weapons, it brings messages of peace and ads for Russian goods. 2 400-foot smokestacks are the first structures brought down with explosives in Hong Kong. And a Taiwanese daredevil jumps the Great Wall on a motorcycle, catching tourists quite by surprise. And that's the world in a minute.
She kept TV's Brady family in line for years.
But up next on the Night Beat, we'll tell you why Alice is reading a few lines as a preview of her latest theatrical effort.
Then in sports, the Steelers are looking for a new quarterback. John Fedko tells us why.
And I'm Dennis Bowman. Some hit-and-miss precipitation around the area, mostly miss at this point of the going. We'll talk about what's ahead as a low-pressure system scoots through. We'll give you the 5-day forecast next.
This is Channel 11, Carnegie Science Center weather.
Well, we had a nice sunny day today. What's on tap for tomorrow?
Well, the clouds rolled in late this afternoon, early this evening. We've had some hit-and-miss variety of precipitation reports. Some sleet, some rain, a couple of snowflakes or two, but most of that is way north of Pittsburgh, up in the Lake Erie region now. 37 degrees as you view west view. Winds are out of the south at 10 miles per hour, and these are west view stats. 53% relative humidity there, and pressure is falling at 30.18 inches of mercury. Temperatures generally right now are in the 30s. And by the way, our high temperature today for Pittsburgh at the airport, 38 for a high, 19 for a low. And just a trace of precipitation thus far. It did actually snow between 7:09 and 7:40 this evening. As we said, 30s weather. Denora and Carmichael's at 36. Right on the freezing mark at Somerset, 34 Harrisville in Butler County, and also at Brookfield in Ohio. And it's a chilly 31-degree temperature now from Brockway. Again, the precipitation is up there around Erie, Crawford, Warren counties, and up around Bradford, and things have really kind of settled down in our neck of the woods. Here's a closer look at some readings now around Westmoreland County, and it's 30s conditions again. New Kensington 34, and so is Greensburg, and it's 30 degrees in Donegal and 31 in New Florence. Cloudy skies all across Westmoreland County. We have a low-pressure system and a very weak sister cool front that are going to be affecting us over the next 24 hours. And basically, the snowflakes will be found up in the snow belt area, maybe an inch or two in spots in the overnight period. Elsewhere, a couple of rain sprinkles, because ahead of this low, we've got some warm southerly air coming up here that is actually going to cause our temperatures to be rising overnight. We've already had whatever our overnight low is going to be. We'll be right around 40 degrees, maybe in the low 40s by the time you hit the street for the morning rush hour. Our highs tomorrow, 60s across the deep south, 70s in Florida, and we will be in the 40s to near 50 degrees around the Pittsburgh area. And looking out into the west, we have a lot of 40s and 50s, especially in the central part of the country. Well, let's look now at our facts and figures out of the Carnegie Science Center. It's 38 degrees, winds out of the south at 8, 57% humidity, and the pressure falling. And now the Channel 11 Carnegie Science Center forecast. Light snow or rain in spots, but otherwise rising temperatures, 38 degrees for a low, into the 40s by daybreak. Breezy and milder tomorrow, scat showers, and a high of 52 in Pittsburgh. If your neighborhood happens to be Uniontown, a few showers, milder day tomorrow, the high 52. And in the meantime, we'll check out Clarion, breezy and milder, scattered rain showers tomorrow, the high 42. Tomorrow night's low is 35 in Pittsburgh. We could see a little mixed bag of precip Wednesday, the high 43. And on Thursday, partly sunny, 44. Sunshine Friday in 46. And maybe a sprinkle Saturday with a high of 49 degrees there. And looks like we're going to be 50-ish for a high temperature tomorrow. Quite a rebound from today's 38.
Yeah, chilly today.
Yes, it was.
Thanks, Dennis. Brady Bunch fans flocked to the South Hills tonight because actress Ann B. Davis, better known as Alice the Maid, made an appearance at Borders Bookshop. Davis was there to read short stories by Truman Capote. She's currently appearing in the City Theater's upcoming production of Capote's Holiday Memories. By the way, Davis lives in Ambridge.
I remember Bobby and Greg and all those guys.
Oh, absolutely.
Shooting hoops.
One of my favorite shows.
Oh, it's terrific.
Friday nights.
And speaking of hoops,
yes,
what a transition.
We
Pitt and Duquesne.
The Brady Bunch in basketball. That's big. Yeah, we have 2 college games in town tonight. The basketball season's here. I'll show you some of the action. So, hey, stay tuned.
Tomorrow at 5 on Channel 11 News. Channel 11 News means more major news. Accused of rape, this hockey star faces a judge. We're live from Minnesota, and you'll hear his fate as we continue to follow these icy allegations. Plus, Channel 11 News First at 5 reports. What's the key ingredient step families need for a happy and healthy relationship?
I figured we're adults. We can handle this.
You'll find out in Step Family Survival. Channel 11 News, more often.
Steeler fans concerned about the quarterback situation.
Yes, the Steelers have to clear that up this week. Neil O'Donnell said today his pulled hamstring is feeling better, but he is out indefinitely, and the Steelers can't count on him to play this Sunday against Indianapolis at Three River Stadium. Expect Bubby Brister to start, but the big question is, who's the backup? The Steelers have no other quarterbacks on the roster, and that's why today's top priority at Three River Stadium was giving former backup Rick Strom a workout. The Steelers need to sign another quarterback this week, and Strom is the leading candidate. Meanwhile, Indianapolis is hurting too. Starting quarterback Jeff George broke his right wrist yesterday against New England. He is out this week for sure. Jack Trudeau will get the start for the Colts. Huge Monday night football game in Miami tonight, hosting Buffalo first quarter. Miami ends its first drive of the game with a Dan Marino to Greg Beatty touchdown. Made it 7-0 Dolphins. second quarter. Marino goes to his favorite receiver, Mark Clayton, the 78th time these two have hooked up for a touchdown. Miami led 14-3. Buffalo's Steve Christie nailed this 54-yard field goal that would have been good from 64 yards, made it 14-6. Kenneth Davis scored to get Buffalo within 1 point here, but Miami added a field goal for a 17-13 halftime lead. Third quarter, Buffalo's Kenneth Davis goes in again. This gave Buffalo a 20-17 lead, and Buffalo's added a couple of field goals. They lead 26-17 in the third quarter. The Whippy-O High School football semifinals coming up this weekend today. The sites and dates announced. The Quad A games features two awesome matchups. Friday night at 7:30, it's North Allegheny versus Connellsville at Baldwin. And Saturday afternoon at 1:30, it's Upper St. Clair versus Butler at North Allegheny. Both AAA games are on Friday night at 7:30. Blackhawk versus Thomas Jefferson at Ambridge, and Knock versus Montour at Butler. In AA, Friday night at 7:30, East Allegheny versus Beth Center at Bell Vernon, and Saturday afternoon at 1:30, Aliquippa versus Riverside at Geneva College. In Single A, Friday night at 7:30, it's Rochester versus Western Beaver at Beaver, and on Saturday afternoon at 1:30, it's West Green versus Clairton at Cannon McMillan. Over at the Pitt Fieldhouse tonight, the Pitt Panthers played an exhibition game against a team made up of ex-college players named Marathon Oil. 6'7" senior Chris McNeil with 19 points tonight, 15 in the second half. He put that follow in right there. And 6'3" junior Ahmed Sharif goes in for the layup. He had 10 points tonight. Pitt wins 92-88. Meanwhile, over at the A.J. Palumbo Center, Duquesne playing an exhibition game against a team from Windsor, Canada. Derek Alston dominating the 6'10" junior from Hoboken, New Jersey. Slams this one home. And seconds later, he slams again. Alston with 29 points tonight for the Dukes. Junior college transfer Miles Powers from Butler Community College hits the J here. He had 17 points. Duquesne wins 127-86. The Penguins host Buffalo tomorrow night. Mario Lemieux is still nursing a bruised heel he suffered Friday night in Detroit. The Pens wouldn't say whether Mario will try to skate on it tomorrow to test it. He is questionable for the game. Hockey scores tonight. Montreal over Boston. St. Louis and Toronto skate to a 2-2 tie. And Vancouver leading L.A. in the first period. Tonight's play of the night from Monday Night Football. One way to pick up short yardage. Third and short for Buffalo. Kenneth Davis at whoop. Just kind of just does the old flip for the first down. Give it to him and just jump. It boing. There he goes. And it was a first down for Buffalo.
You know, if you pile enough bodies up on top, you can just go right over the roll exactly. Over the top of it.
Let's play it like that. Just flip over it and get the first.
That's the way to do it.
Thanks, John.
All right, thanks.
Seems nowadays there is just a Hall of Fame for just about everything.
Yeah, up next on the night beat, the Hall of Fame with a little extra rock and roll, and I don't mean music. And finally tonight, you've no doubt heard of the Baseball Hall of Fame, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, maybe the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so on and so forth. Now a Hall of Fame for the not-so-famous. That is, unless you're familiar with strippers, past and present. And here they are, those women who've teased audiences for generations. It's run by a former stripper, 66-year-old grandmother Dixie Evans, out of her Helendale, California home. It's a show and tell for visitors who make donations to keep it running. And 10% of those donations, by the way, go to a local home for battered children. Pretty interesting.
Our next full report is tomorrow morning on Starting Today. I'm Peggy Finnegan. For John, Dennis, the entire news team, thanks for watching.
I'm David Johnson. Stay tuned for news every hour on the hour on Pittsburgh's only 24-hour news source. Have a good night.
So long.
This has been a presentation of WPXI TV Channel 11 News. More news, more often.